Once there was a man named William. His mom called him Billy, and his friends called him Billy the Bard. Billy liked to write poems and plays, and he and his friends liked to put on the plays at the Globe, which was the theater down the street. One day, Billy was walking to the Globe to rehearse his new play, McHamlet. On the way, he saw the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Billy knew from the moment he saw her that he was in love. He wanted to walk up and talk to her, but he was too shy. Billy decided that he would write the woman a poem, in the hopes that she would fall in love with him too. He asked around town and found out that the woman's name was Ophelia. When Billy got home from rehearsal, he sat down at his desk, picked up his quill, and began to write a poem. Billy decided he was going to write a sonnet for Ophelia, because he thought sonnets were the most romantic and beautiful of all poems. He knew that he could pack a lot of love into those 14 lines. Billy immediately set to work, beginning to write the first quatrain. These first 4 lines were the most difficult to write, because Billy had trouble putting his feelings down on paper. But as he continued to write, he found that the words came more easily. By the time Billy got to the final stanza, he found that the words seemed to flow from his quill. He thought that the closing couplet of the sonnet was made up of the best 2 lines he had ever written. Billy's love for Ophelia was evident in every word that he wrote. Normally, Billy had a bit of trouble getting the rhyme scheme to work just right, but for Ophelia's sonnet, he found that the words flowed together flawlessly. Billy didn't finish writing his sonnet until late that night, but he found that he was not tired. When he was finished writing, Billy put down his quill and got into bed, thinking to himself, "Surely when Ophelia reads this sonnet, she will understand my feelings for her. I hope she can learn to love me as I love her." The next day, as Billy walked to rehearsal, he carried his sonnet in his hand, the ink barely dry. He saw Ophelia walking down the street in his direction, and he nearly lost his nerve, but he gathered his courage and approached her. "Excuse me, miss," he said. "My name is Billy. I couldn't help but notice you walking down the street yesterday, and I was struck by your beauty. I wrote you this sonnet in the hopes that you could feel the same way about me." Ophelia, surprised and flattered, read Billy's poem. She found that it was the most beautiful thing she had ever read, and was brought to tears. She and Billy went on a date that night, and Ophelia found that by the end of the night, she was madly in love with him. They were soon married, and lived happily ever after. The end.